Yeah, thanks, Victor. Thanks, Sandra, for having us in EduSA in Spain. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. And so we're going to transition now to kind of looking at how do universities look at students and look at student applications. Victor did a great job explaining this is how you might want to look at universities. Well, there's the same thing going on in the United States with this process that we call holistic review. That doesn't really mean much to you. I get it. And that's why we want to make sure that we work it through today. But essentially, when you are doing all the steps that Victor just laid out and you're looking at everything a school offers, not just, what their ranking is, or not just, do they have this specific major? You're looking at the student experience. You're looking at what kind of community. You're doing a holistic review of that college. And so colleges, when we're looking at applications, are kind of doing the same thing. So Sandra, next slide, please. When we're looking to build our class at like the University of Notre Dame, at WashU, at institutions across the United States, there's a lot of questions that we're asking. Yes, one of the most important ones is this student going to be academically successful at our universities? Notre Dame, WashU, many other universities in the United States, we are very rigorous institutions. We are absolutely going to challenge you in the classroom, and we want to see that you'll be able to hold your own and be there and contribute to that environment. But then we're going to ask bigger questions. Will this student be someone who is happy and engaged and productive on our campus? Are they going to be someone who uses the opportunities and the education that is being offered to them to make an impact in their life, on the world? Are they going to make an impact on our campus? It's not just can you do the work, but also can you do the work, but also what are you going to bring to campus? And one of the ways that we do that is by looking very heavily at a much more in-depth application than what you're going to see in a lot of Spanish universities, where you're just kind of taking exams and maybe using those exam scores to then apply to the university. It's a little bit different in the United States. So next slide, please, Sandra. So certainly the first thing that we're gonna look at is the student academically ready for our institution? What kind of curriculum is being offered at school? Many of you may be in IB programs. You might have some, if you're in an American school, you might have AP courses, or there might be honors or advanced courses, or you may just be in the Spanish national curriculum. If you're doing well in any of those curriculums and you're challenging yourself and you're showing that you're ready for that, that's always really, really important, especially for universities that are using this holistic review process, which are the more kind of highly selective, the ones that are a little bit more of your reach schools, like Notre Dame and WashU. Want to see that you've done well all through high school. We understand that sometimes making the transition is different. In many European systems, you're actually still in middle school during ninth grade, and sometimes you're only in high school for 3 years. And so we understand that too, but we do want to see that you've done well over your 4 years. We will absolutely be taking everything kind of with a grain of salt, especially for the students who have currently applied this year, as well as students applying over the next couple years as well, just due to everything that has gone on this year. We know the pandemic and 2020 kind of as a whole has been rough, and we understand that, and we want to make sure that we're not unfairly punishing you for a world that we all have to live in this time as well. And I should also say, I really hope you are all doing well, that you are safe, that you are healthy. And again, the college process is very important. It is not that important in the grand scheme of things. So I hope you're all well and healthy too. So, next slide, Sandra. So next, we're going to look at some standardized test scores. So that kind of exam-based system that can be a little bit in the United States in this holistic review model. But many colleges and universities across the United States have actually kind of changed the standard kind of test procedure. Usually, or in kind of the past, it used to be that you had to submit an ACT or an SAT. You can still do that, but some universities, even before the pandemic, were starting to move to what we call test flexible and test optional. So those are very laid out on different websites that each school will kind of have their own policy. But essentially, if you're someone who's in the IB program, if you're taking a certain level or a certain number of higher level courses, HL courses, you don't necessarily need to take the ACT or SAT. And then this year, especially, accelerated a trend called test optional, meaning We have seen many applications that are applying to our universities without an ACT or an SAT, whether it's because they don't feel that applicant feels like their score doesn't represent them to the best of their ability, or because they just weren't able to take an exam given everything that's going on. And so test optional is essentially this idea that you don't need to take an ACT or SAT. If you feel that your curriculum and your grades in your high school is showing what you've done in high school and in your academic rigor and your academic preparedness for college, you can be a great test optional candidate as well. And so keep an eye out over the next couple of years. Many universities in the United States, we are test optional for this year, with maybe potential announcements coming of whether or not that will continue for a year or two. Notre Dame has not said anything officially, so I cannot say anything officially. Victor, I don't know if WashU has. WashU hasn't said anything officially. Most universities have not. I would expect further statements coming in the spring, one way or another. Very important kind of thing to just keep in mind. And so we also understand that across the world, the Spanish national curriculum is not teaching to the ACT or the SAT. We understand that, it's not being taught in the same way as it is in the United States, where these kind of college entrance exams are a goal. And so the education's a little bit different. And we understand that scores then can be a little bit different too, depending where in the world you're coming from, especially if you were not kind of taught for the last 12 years how to take the ACT. So we understand that as well. And again, from school to school, it will vary a little bit of what is competitive. Most schools will put a middle 50%. So students who have right about that average test score right on their website for you to kind of help figure out of where, should I submit this test score? Should I apply test optional? How competitive is this school? Generally, the more selective institutions, we do tend to have a little bit higher test scores. But if you apply test optional, I do want to make sure that I say it is completely test optional. We are truly test optional. Your application will not be hurt in any way for applying test optional. It's just another piece of the puzzle that you can choose to share or not share. Okay. Thanks, Andrew. So I went on a little bit too long about that, but it's just been such a recent development. I want to make sure you understand the differences in those models. But okay, now we've got a test score, we've got some grades. Maybe we don't have a test score. We just see your predicted IBs or other kind of programs across Europe. That tells us, great, we have some numbers, tells us you're a great student. It doesn't tell us anything about who you are as a person or what you're going to bring to our community. And that's where we start looking at things like extracurricular activities. These are things that you are doing outside of the classroom. It could be family responsibilities at home. Maybe you live with your grandparents, you have to help take care of them, or you have younger siblings, you have to take care of them, or parents just work a lot, and so you have to help, with other family responsibilities like that. It could be sports and clubs that you are involved in. It could be any academic kind of like Olympiads that you might be a part of, or academic contests that you might be a part of. Anything that you are doing outside of the classroom is an extracurricular activity. It helps us understand, is this student a leader? Do they demonstrate great initiative? What kind of talents or passions are they pursuing? And what are they going to bring to campus? Again, 2020, we understand, has affected a lot of those programs, and we will always read that and your application in the context of that. But we always want to see those students who are pursuing their passions, because they're going to bring those passions and make our communities in the United States a better place for having them on their campus. So we're always looking at your extracurricular activities, and that's really important part of the application. Thanks, Sandra. We're going to look at letters of recommendation. I know many schools in Spain do not have a counselor per se. That's not necessarily a position that all schools will have, but it's really just someone who knows you well and can write a letter of recommendation, kind of helping us get to know you like they have gotten to know you. It could be a school official, it could be a teacher. Notre Dame, we require a letter of recommendation from a teacher. We encourage have another letter from a school official if you would like to get that, just to provide further context about your school. Other institutions in the United States will require 2 letters of recommendation, or they'll require 3. It will vary from college to college, but the reason that we're getting those is we want to get to know, is this student someone who is going to make this community a better place? And that's kind of the whole goal of this holistic review. All right. And then finally, this is every admissions counselor's favorite piece of the application when we're reading. We're reading a lot of applications these days, and every time the favorite piece of the application is getting to a student's essays. You're going to write a lot of essays during the college kind of application and discernment process when you're looking in the United States, but they're really important. They help us get to know you and who you are as a person, and give us a chance to learn who you are in your own voice. So yes, we want to see that you can write well, but at the same time, we also want to see that you understand the mission of our schools, or the different goals of our schools, or can articulate why that you want to come to Notre Dame, or why you want to go to WashU, or why you want to go to Montana State University. We want to know why. We want to see that in your essays, and it helps us get to know you. And that's the fun part of the application reading for admissions counselors. So those essays are really important. They are going to take up a lot of time, and it's something different in the United States than what you're going to see most anywhere else in the world, but there's a reason with that. So, all right. So kind of as you're thinking from here, what are my next steps in building my holistic application? Again, as Victor said, make a lot of time, start early. We want to make sure that you feel that you are able to present your best self. And one of the ways that we do that is by making sure that you've been thinking about these activities, that you've been participating, being involved, and making sure that you are able to convey yourself on your application very well, not just trying to do things kind of last minute. So be in communication with us. Give us a holler, send us an email. Go ahead and watch all the virtual things that we've got. Victor and I are here to be resources for you, things of that nature as well. We want to make sure that you feel that you have a voice and you have support throughout the process too.